last time I did a reaction to Larry Bird's NBA career is how much he meant to a lot of people in Boston when he got drafted to that area. And I've also mentioned that him and Magic Johnson's relationship pretty much grew stronger, even though they had like a tight rivalry, but they ended off with a good sportsmanship, and that's all I want to see. But it's the fact that both legends ended off his retirement in such a unique way. But someone actually mentioned something about this a while back that I haven't touched on, is 5 times he played injured but did not give up. So it really goes to show you that if you make a lot of sacrifices in your life, where you have a broken arm, a broken ankle, an injured wrist, like, you're not about to quit and give up the one thing that made you famous in the first place, especially if you're putting on points on the board, when you're shooting baskets or you're making dunks on people. So it's pretty much all about making sacrifices to your body just to become that dude. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at this video right now.
I've never met an athlete that would play with pain the way he does, and an athlete that's so highly self-motivated as Larry Bird.
I think 4 or 5 years you'll think back about what he did, or you'll just, you'll go that. I think it's one of those things that as the years go by, it'll become bigger and bigger and bigger.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today I'm back with another video. But this time, once again, we have to talk about Larry Legend, one of my favorite players of all time. And I think even the most casual NBA fan knows that Larry Bird in his career was a very tough player, and he overcame tremendous adversity as well as injuries. And I wanted to make a very quick video explaining how tough Larry Bird was and just some of the big time injuries he overcame. So with that being said, let's get into the video and look at 5 times Larry Bird overcame injuries and absolutely dominated. So the first injury we're going to look at is from 1979, before Larry Bird was even in the NBA. And this injury occurred in a friendly softball game with Larry Bird's brother as well as friends. And here's Jackie McMullen explain this very bizarre and peculiar injury.
Well, he shows up, and who's on the other team but his brother?
Wow.
So Larry's playing out in the outfield, and his brother hits this kind of spinning, looping ball, almost like a Tim Wakefield knuckleball. It's just spinning all over the place. And Larry tries to go down and make a basket catch, and his finger goes all the way back, and he's like, man, wow.
Ouch.
He looked down, and his finger was completely dislocated.
You know, even though I'm not that good at basketball, but it's the way you shoot the basket when your finger goes all the way up into the back to the point where a sharp pain creates so many health risks, like high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and whatever injuries that you had in your body that you broke by accident while playing sports. It can happen over time.
No, it really was bothering me. He had to stop playing right away. And so now remember, he's been drafted by the Celtics during this point, but he has not signed a contract yet. So
Really?
His finger is in a bad way. He has to have major surgery with clips put in and pins and everything
Ooh.
else. And he never tells the Celtics this has happened. But, sooner or later they get word.
Oh,
and
my
they send
God.
him to Boston. And the trainer examines him and says, and the team doctor examines him, and they say to Red Auerbach, this guy's damaged goods. Now, Red's like, really? So he says, come on, Larry, get dressed. So Larry puts on
He
stuff.
did it, though.
Red throws
He
the
made it
ball,
work
goes
despite
out,
the
starts
pain.
shooting from all over the floor. He's hitting from everywhere.
That wouldn't be me.
Throws him a few bounce passes, has him throws a few overhead passes, and he said, you look fine to me, kid. And Bird said, great. But Bird to this day will tell you he's never had the same feel for the basketball.
So obviously a pretty bad finger injury that affected Bird for the rest of his life. And around 2010, Larry Bird gave an interview and said this finger to this day is shaped like a boomerang at a 45-degree angle pointing toward his thumb.
Oh, God.
He's had 2 surgeries that have failed to straighten it out. But I think the most intriguing thing in that clip is that Larry Bird himself said he never had the same feel for the basketball after this injury. And Bird for his...
Man, like I said, that couldn't be me. I'll probably just quit and not play basketball ever again, because I'm going to need some serious surgeries unless the doctors could just pop the bone back in place. Quick little story of me. When I was 18 back in 2009, I was shadow boxing in my room, and all of a sudden I hit my index finger onto this wall right here, and the bone ended up popping like right here. It was like back here somewhere, and my hand looked like a straight up orange, like a grapefruit. So I had to wear a cast for almost a few months now. And so when the doctors took the cast off and popped my hand back in place, I feel like they didn't do it right, but I was able to draw and do what I love doing right now. But it's the fact that I was able to recover within like weeks or whatever though. But well, I was only 18 at the time when all of this happened. I mean, I guess that's what happens when you're a man.
Of all time, he was the first player ever to win the 50-40-90 club, and he routinely shot over 90% from the line. But with that being said, Bird actually could have been a better shooter than he was in the NBA if it wasn't for that devastating finger injury. Now, next up on the Bird injury list, we go to his back, one of the worst injuries a player could ever have.
Oh no!
His injury for Bird occurred in 1985 in the middle of his prime, and here's his doctor, as well as a few commentators, talking about how tough Bird was and how difficult it was for him to even play a basketball game.
Larry had two jobs his last 7 years of playing. It was playing basketball, and then it was him being committed to taking care of his back.
He had first heard it in 1985, building the driveway at his mom's house back in French Lick.
Larry decides to do it himself. This is Larry Bird, the superstar, out there breaking his back, literally shoveling gravel. And that was the beginning of a process.
I would see him on TV laying down, and then they told me that he had to lay down on planes, different things like that. And I was like, wow.
As Magic soared through the prime of his career, Bird was breaking down.
Oh!
His deteriorating
God, did y'all see that?
and
Hold
punishing
up.
style of play. Bird was breaking down.
Bruh, the way he
His
landed on his
deteriorating
back,
and punishing style
bruh,
of
that
play,
shit is,
proving
oh
an
my
excruciating mix.
From 88 to 92, it was painful to watch. It was painful to cover.
God.
Larry
Damn, he
is
played
quite
all
ornery
3
when
years.
he's not feeling
with a-
well, which means he was
no,
ornery.
bruh. You mean to tell me he played all these years with a broken back, and yet somehow he managed to make all of them points? It became an NBA icon, playing through injuries. Jesus Christ, bro. He making bank. Like, this nigga is like making bank in Boston right now, playing injured. I mean, I'm surprised he's not even on disability, because him having a messed up finger, a broken back, and I can't imagine of him having a sprained ankle. Like, this man is literally playing while hurt, but making money at the same time. He's a legit GOAT, no cap.
In a way that very few people can do.
If you get paid to go to work, you got to go to work.
It was a situation that he was seeing almost daily. He had lost the structural stability in his spine, so it would slip into abnormal positions to try and lock itself to get an artificial stability. That's like getting your finger stuck in a door and somebody's still pushing on the door. So what we had to do was unlock his spine, realign it, do techniques that would hold that for 4 hours, 6 hours, that type of thing, and then he'd go play basketball.
So obviously that back injury was pretty devastating for Bird, and it kind of marked the end of his prime. But even with that being said, Bird in his last 7 seasons still put up tremendous stats, averaging 25.1 points per game.
I mean, like I said, he still did it.
7.0 assists
I mean,
on near
look at these numbers, though.
90 splits. Those stats right there from an offensive perspective are still some of the best stats of all time.
No
And
cap.
once again show Bird could handle pain like few athletes ever. And one of the most remarkable things I've ever heard comes from Larry Bird's former teammate, that being Robert Parrish. According to Parrish, Larry Bird never took painkillers, pills, or any shots in his entire career. Bird simply toughed it out and showed mental toughness as well as physical toughness and played basketball at the highest level for 7 more years. Now also one...
Here's the thing, though. He's like Stone Cold Steve Austin back in 97 when he injured his neck due to the power driver that Owen Hart gave him. And so after all of that, he didn't, well, he had to have surgery though, but he was a tough son of a gun. And that's literally what Austin was back in the day, and he still is today. Even though he survived like multiple neck injuries, he still went out there and kicked. And that's the beauty of being a strong individual. Listen, you have to go out there and make the best sacrifices out there. So it really goes to show you that even though you are a tough individual, you play through injuries without taking pills, going into surgeries and all of that, you toughen up, you went out there and you still did what you had to do to make sacrifices by putting points on board, and you made it work. Like, name one injury, name one wrestler, one martial artist, one football player, one basketball player, one baseball, soccer, hockey, any other sport. Name one person that went out there and played injured while continuing to win games. Name me one person that still went out there and did what they did while in injured. They're still making a buttload of money doing that. You can't sit there and tell me that any other person with a broken body that can still go out there and perform in front of millions of people to give them what they want to see.
Is being mentally tough.
I mean to get passionate, but it's just something that I love seeing what people do.
After being stuck down in an airport for 10 straight hours.
Back then when we flew commercial, we didn't fly private. We played in a Tuesday night game in Cleveland. And of course we got up for the first flight out. We had a game on Wednesday night in New Jersey. Snowstorm hits Cleveland. We're at the airport at 7 in the morning. Flight's canceled at 7. It's canceled at 8. It's canceled at 9. It's canceled at 10. Canceled at 11, 12. We finally leave about 1:30 or 2 in the afternoon. We fly up to New Jersey. Now the storm has kind of moved into Jersey. And the bus driver says, well, I can't get to the hotel into the arena. I can only go to one place. Well, we had a game that night. We go to the arena. So we get to the arena, and I mean, we're dragging. And we're sitting around the locker room, and, and everybody's kind of, we're tired. And, and all of a sudden, the coach gives a little bit of a speech of, come on, man, guys, we're playing basketball. Let's get ready to go. And Larry stands up, and Larry says, a couple other few choice words, and he says, I don't know about you guys, I'm going to take it out on their rear ends. So I was like, well, all right, so let's go. So we go on the floor. Albert King sitting there. Larry walks up to Albert King and goes, don't take this butt whooping personally. I've been eating hot dogs all day. And then Albert King looks at him like, you've been eating hot dogs all day? What's that got to do with me?
Right.
And we went out and just hammered him. I mean, we terrorized them. And that was Larry. There was no excuses. I mean, he just played. And I tell you,
the man's a legend, hands down.
Nature. But a day when you fly all day and eat hot dogs in the airport, best thing was Albert's look on his face like, what hot dogs got to do with me?
And that story from Kevin McHale, for the most part, is pretty comical, but I think it still shows Larry Bird had extreme mental toughness, and when it came to playing basketball, he would give it his best every single night.
One of the best players in the NBA.
Game charts, and I found this game from 1986 on April 13th.
Wow.
In this game, Boston beat New Jersey by 28 points. Larry Bird had 26, 4, and 3 on 64% shooting, and he didn't miss a single three-pointer or a single free throw. And what makes it even more impressive to me is this game versus New Jersey was the last game of the season. Bird could have easily packed it in and waited for the playoffs, but still, he wanted to play this game for his teammates as well as his coaches. And that year in '86, Larry Bird didn't miss a single game, playing all 82. And if you compare that mindset from Bird to the modern day players, it's simply night and day. I pretty much guarantee you, any modern day superstar will 100% sit out that game and rest for the playoffs. But not Larry Bird. And when talking about Larry Bird in his prime, 1980 to 86, really before his big-time injuries, he played 561 out of 574 games. He played all 82 games 3 times and over 36 minutes per game every single year. In 2 years, he actually led the NBA in minutes per game.
That's crazy.
So back in the day, Larry Bird, if he could walk, he was 100% suiting up and playing basketball. But the one time in Bird's career where he simply could not play was in 1989. This year, Larry Bird had severe bone spurs, he had what many people thought was a broken foot, and he had double Achilles surgery. And back in the day, an Achilles injury could possibly be the end of your career. But once again, not for Larry Bird. As the following year...
Remember when I said that something tells me he's going to end up probably play with a broken foot? This is one of those moments right here. A bone marrow, and yet he still went out there and played and put up points. This man is a legit badass. It's because of how tough he is. He went out there and he still did what he needed to be done. And to be honest with you, I would have done the exact same thing. I would have probably just passed the ball around, but I wouldn't be shooting baskets if I had like an injured finger or a broken wrist, a broken foot, a broken ankle, or a bad back. But this man went out there and continued to perform. Even he had some good percentage in the 90s. This man, he's too good. He's like the Undertaker of Boston, you know, no matter what injuries that come in his way, and he'll always go out there and still put on a performance. Just like the Undertaker taking so many punches in the face or chair shots to the back, you cannot kill the dead man. That is exactly what I think of Larry Bird in Boston, the Undertaker of Boston Celtics.
Averaging 24.3 points per game, 9.5 boards, 7.5 assists, while playing 75 games at 39.3 minutes per game, while leading the NBA in free throw percentage. So even after all those injuries, Larry Bird once again came back to all-star form, and he overcame double Achilles surgery. Now the last Bird injury we have
crazy.
is
Double
in
Achilles
1991,
surgery?
and this injury is also the last great Larry Bird moment in the 91 playoffs versus the Indiana Pacers. And to kind of set the stage, in this series, Boston, they were heavily favored, but in games 1 through 4, Bird was not playing up to par, only averaging 18 points per game, 9 assists, 8 boards, on 37% shooting, and 11% from 3. And back in the day in the first round, it was a best-of-5 series, so Game 5 was a winner-take-all game. And near halftime of this game, Larry Bird would go down with a severe head injury, possibly a broken cheekbone, as well as a mild concussion.
Right here, the swipe knocks it free. Bird on the floor, then left hand keeps it.
Every time I see that, it's cringe. The way he landed on his face.
What effort by Larry Bird.
Yeah, but he hit his head in the ground though.
And Larry Bird is headed directly to the locker room for treatment.
But in typical Larry Bird fashion, he would tough it out and come back in the middle of the third
Yeah, that's what
quarter.
you're supposed to do.
And here comes Larry Bird. But certainly this out of the pages of Willis Reed in Game 5 of the championship series involving the Knicks and the Lakers in 69-70.
And in this Game 5 in the Boston Garden, from that moment on, Larry Bird would dominate for the remaining 18 minutes of that game, having 17 points, 7 boards, and 5 assists, on 60% shooting, leading Boston to a 3-point win. And that Game 5 versus Indy is the last great Larry Bird moment as he overcame injury and dominated in that second half. So with that being said, that is the end of the video. Let me know your guys' thoughts. How tough do you think Larry Bird was?
Like I said, this man is literally the Undertaker in Boston Celtics because he played through injuries, he sacrifices his body, and not only that, but this man played with a broken back. How do you do that as an NBA player? How? That's how you know this man was getting paid big time that day, that night. A bone marrow, broken back, a messed up finger, and he still managed to go out there and perform in front of millions of people. And he got the job done. That is a legit badass of an NBA player, if you ask me. Shout out to everybody that recommended me this video. I loved it. I understand it now. Larry, he is such a GOAT. There is no putting him down. If he gets injured, he'll toughen up and he'll make it work. So, link to the original video will be down below, and I'm gonna catch you on my next one.